Hey guys, I'm Devin, and this is Baka Burrito, and on today's episode, we have 5 tips for a beginning Yu-Gi-Oh player. Now, I was in the middle of starting a new series, and I just wanted to make sure I had a video out for this week so that you guys had some content to digest. And I thought, what better way than to give people like some advice on a topic I'm very passionate about, which if you don't know by now, it is Yu-Gi-Oh! I play pretty much every day, whether I work or not, whether I talk to my friends or not. I'm online in some capacity. I'm building a deck, this, that, and the third. Now that being said, I noticed that there are a lot of players who aren't really like it seems like they're in between ways to play the game. And I just want to help clarify a couple things, especially for the beginning players, because I get asked a lot, like, "Oh, can you teach me how to play? Oh, I want to learn how to play Yu-Gi-Oh, but I don't know if I want to go to like tournaments and things," and that's fine, right? So my first tip is know what kind of Yu-Gi-Oh you want to play. If you want to play casual Yu-Gi-Oh, that's fine. Like you have a much smaller budget, you play more pure decks, you just play to have fun. That's cool. Or if you want to be a competitive player, you know that you're going to need a much bigger bankroll in order to play at the highest level. If you want to play like semi-competitive or like you want to play gimmick decks, just find the way that you think fits you best. For example, I myself am like semi-pro or semi-competitive rather. Um, because I really like to do well in tournaments, but I also like to teach people how to play the game in a way that like gets them to understand how to play. Like, oh, this is what these cards do. Oh, you want to play your evil hero deck? Cool, I'll play my bug deck from like 2012 or something like that, or like a pure warrior deck, so that you get to learn mechanics, or like an odd eyes deck for the same reason. Um, so yeah, the first tip is to just find the way that works best for you. Tip number 2, set a budget. For sure, for sure, for sure, set a budget. Because whether you want to have a $50 deck or a $500 deck, you need to know when and if you can spend that money, when and if you can, like what cards you can get, what cards are outside of your price range, and what cards you'd have to save up for. For example, if you have a budget of $10 a month, it's not realistic to look at cards like for example, something like Triple Tactics Talent. Currently, it sits at about $100. You're not going to want to look at that card. But what you are going to want to look at is something along the lines of like um, Forbidden Chalice, things like Infinite Impermanence. Infinite Impermanence would take you 2 months if you had a budget of $10 a month. I also have to say that's not a very high budget. But if that's the situation you're in, or if that's the type of Yu-Gi-Oh you want to play, you just want to throw a couple dollars at the game, that's fine. Just know your crowd. Know your budget, know your crowd, know what kind of Yu-Gi-Oh you want to play. So the first tip and the second tip kind of tie in together, right? And you'll find that a lot with the rest of them. The third tip, and I cannot express this enough, read your cards. Make sure you know what your cards do. I cannot tell you how many times I've been playing a game with Max and he'll be like, "Oh yeah, I use this card." I'm like, "Max, you can't do that. It's my turn." And he's like, "What do you mean I can't do that?" So like, and he's a more casual player than myself and Dede. Dede is our other friend, for those of you who don't remember. He was in our Halloween special. That'll be somewhere at the top. I'll link that. Um, However, like I said, Max is a more casual Yu-Gi-Oh player than the rest of us, so I do understand why he doesn't take the game as serious or doesn't read all of his cards. But if you're gonna play, at least know the rules. At least know what your cards do. You don't have to know every card in the game. I don't think that's too much to ask for. Um, anyway, moving on to tip number 4. I highly recommend you watch a video to build your deck, or to help build your deck, or get ideas to build your deck. Because deck building is a skill that kind of takes a long time to learn, and whether you're playing fun Yu-Gi-Oh or competitive Yu-Gi-Oh, there's always a way to optimize the deck to perform to the best of its ability. For example, if you're building something like, I don't know, heroes, right? And you want to be a more budget hero player. If you have access to Absolute Zero, but you don't have access to Liquid Soldier, watch a video, see why they play Liquid Soldier, and then you may find there is a budget alternative. It won't be as good. It'll probably be Bubble Man, right? Because Bubble Man still has the ability to help you draw 2 cards. It doesn't give you the graveyard recursion, but it does serve a purpose in the deck, so you would still have access to the Absolute Zero acid plays, things like that. It's just in a lot of decks, if you know why they play certain cards, you'll know what you can and cannot substitute, or what you should and should not be substituting, rather. But at the end of the day, your deck, your choice, but it does help to net deck, to find videos on YouTube. Again, for example, we have a Zombie World video, we have a Hero video, we have PK Fire, Drytron, and soon I will be putting up another deck. Hopefully that one's as well received as a couple of the other ones, because again, I love making deck profiles, and if you guys enjoy them, I enjoy making them. Anyway, so that was tip number 4. Tip number 4 was watch videos to help you build your decks, help get ideas for deck building. And for the last tip I got for you guys, never be afraid to try new cards. Like, there are some cards that fly super under the radar that no one thinks about, talks about, no one reads. For example, there's a card called Free Range Monster that's pretty much normal summon in the form of a trap card. And I know if you're playing like lower, like in a super competitive sense, that may not be that good because it's a trap card. You have to wait for it to activate. Blah blah blah. However, in like a lower table duel, something that's like tier 3 plus, something super like table 500, whatever you want to call it. If you use a card like Free Range Monster, that could extend your deck's combos. And there's a lot of decks that don't see play because they can't extend combos. And I'm not saying that's the most optimal way to do so, but I am saying that some of these underrated cards can, like, they'll really surprise you with how well they can perform. And that's all I really have to say about those. So again, the tips are: don't be afraid to try new cards. Always, not always, but watch videos to get ideas for decks. Have help and to have you help build the decks. Make sure you set a budget. Make sure you know what your cards do, and know what kind of Yu-Gi-Oh you want to play. Again, because not everyone is going to be like a super, super highly competitive player going to Worlds, going to Nats. That's just not realistic for everyone. But if you want to go to locals every so often, build a deck that you can go to locals with. Something like Ogdotic, something like, as of right now, B-Trooper. Matter of fact, I can have a deck profile for both of those decks in the coming weeks if you guys like this video. But yeah, that's been it for me. I'm Devin, this is Baka Burrito, and let us know down below what kind of Yu-Gi-Oh content you'd like to see going forward. And you guys have been awesome. Catch you guys on the next one.